Not that I'm
Great
opposed to
markers,
eating.
brother.
And actually,
We're gonna go. We're gonna go. Okay, it's 9 o'clock.
They're very hard to de-pluck. That's probably why I don't like them.
candy, sunset.
Good morning and welcome to the April 6, 2017 Land Use Meeting. We're gonna start today. We have hey Charles, come join us, please.
Can I stay here, please?
No, no.
We have a
You're,
quorum.
you're one of our commissioners. You have to come up here.
Do you have to resign? You don't want that.
We're gonna start with an invocation
I know y'all
by
want me to resign.
with an invocation, and everyone listening, to the Reverend Clark Edwards from the First United Methodist Church of Bradenton, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you today. Let us pray together. Gracious, loving God, we come to you today with thanksgiving for all of your blessings in life. We give you thanks for this another new day to do your will in this great community of Manatee County. We are excited about all the possibilities before us to follow the words of the prophet Micah, to do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly before you, O God. We ask your blessing and wisdom upon these elected representatives of our community in the decisions they make for this community. We're grateful for their service to this community. And now in the words of St. Francis, we offer his words, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nicole, do we have any changes to our agenda today?
Good morning, Madam Chair. There are no changes to the agenda today.
Okay, great. All right. We're going to go ahead and move quickly to citizens' comments on future agenda items. I just want to make a note that this is a land use hearing, and as such, our decisions that we have to make today many of them are quasi-judicial, which follow different rules than the other policy decisions that the board makes. So we have to abide by those quasi-judicial rules, and if there's something that someone wants to talk about that is in fact a quasi-judicial decision, we'll have to defer to the county attorney whether or not we can hear those concerns at this time, because I know that the two folks that have signed up to speak are speaking in regards to a quasi-judicial matter that has already been decided by this board and is past the time for reconsideration. But I'm going to go ahead and ask you to come forward as you signed up to speak. First up, I have Bo Hurst. Please state your name for the record.
Bo Hurst.
You need to come up to the microphone. Thank you. We need you to be part of the record.
My name is Bo Hurst.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm here today to request a motion to reconsider the March 2nd vote approving the Vorbeck property rezoning from single-family homes to multifamily units. My request is based on what I see as a clear conflict of interest. At that March 2nd vote, Commissioner Whitmore's eligibility to have a vote was based on a legal opinion from the Ethics Department dated 2011. At that time, her son-in-law, Scott Rudisil, I think that's how it's pronounced, was a salaried associate of the firm representing the Vorbeck property. As a salaried associate, he had no profit-sharing privileges within the firm. It was thus concluded that Commissioner Whitmore would not have to abstain from voting March 2nd. She then cast the deciding vote to approve the rezoning 4-3. And here's where I see the conflict. Between May of 2011 and March 2nd, 2017, her son-in-law, Mr. Rudisil, was apparently promoted from a salaried associate and made a principal at the firm. I think that means he now has profit-sharing privileges and stood to gain from her yes vote. I believe that Commissioner Whitmore knew that at the time and should have abstained from the voting that day and any other day that her vote will have an effect on her daughter's husband's income. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to defer to the county attorney at this time. County attorney.
Yes, Madam Chairman, the rezoning ordinances such as the rollback zoning ordinance is quasi-judicial, and the rules of procedure for routine reconsideration in 5.5.6.4, rules of procedure of the board, provide in no event shall the motion to reconsider be made later than 30 days after a vote on a quasi-judicial matter. The vote occurred on March 2nd, 2017, 30 days expired, and the ordinance is effective April 2nd, 2017. So 30 days has expired. So the motion is out of order and cannot be made.
Okay, thank you. Next up, I have Tanya Lex.
Yeah.
Good morning. My name is Tanya Lex, and based on what she just said, I'm not sure what our position would be. Mine is also, I've read a couple of newspaper articles in reference to the son-in-law's position with the attorney representing the Vorbeck project, and then, of course, as a vote with the commissioners. I also stated that from an associate of the firm, he is now a principal of the firm, and he's also an officer of the corporation, as stated on the Florida Association of on the SunBiz I found. So I guess based on what the attorney just stated, it doesn't matter, since it is 30 days past, whether the facts have changed or not changed as far as the voting has gone, or even with the Code of Ethics. I believe there is now a new conflict that has been written to the state of Florida also for it to be reevaluated or resituated to see. Would that mean that it wouldn't matter up until that point, that that would be reassessed, whether it was negative or positive, that the anything prior to that would not change at all as far as the votes go?
We will address citizens' comments after citizens' comments are finished, so please
Okay.
just complete your comments, and then
Right.
we'll have those comments addressed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up, I have Barbara Elliott.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Barbara Elliott. I am 63, 100% totally disabled voter, and my blood pressure this morning was 228/108. You may remember, I don't know if, okay, you can see these petition boxes that went into the library branches recently with permission of Kevin Beach, the library operations supervisor. There is nothing in law to prevent those boxes in the libraries. I'm here to request the Manatee County Board of County Commissioners to reinstate the boxes to Manatee County library branches. There's nothing in federal, state, local code, ordinance, or law, or Manatee County library policy that forbids these petitions in any Manatee County library branch. Your county attorney office only has opinions. Unlike Mike Bennett, Manatee County's supervisor of elections, I have an advisory opinion from the Florida Division of Elections that nothing in election laws forbids these boxes or petitions. Please discuss, pass the motion, put them back in the library, or you could do just with a yes in your microphone. You can appoint a county charter government committee to come up with a charter that we may or may not want. It takes you nothing hardly to do it. Don't make me stand out the street corner, please, because I'm probably going to have a stroke. I have seen campaign literature, voter registration forms, I've attended candidate forums, and the Manatee County League of Women's Voters have had monthly meetings there for years. It is obstructive to our rights to not let us have those petition boxes and petitions in the library. The burden of proof that I cannot put them in there is on Manatee County. I do not have to prove that I can. I will put the boxes back if necessary. I do appreciate your time and consideration on this. Are there any questions? I have the advisory opinion with me. The county attorney has nothing but opinions of other things. There is no law that I cannot put those in there. I went to the top of the library and got permission.
I'm sorry, your time is
Okay,
finished.
thank you.
Did you submit that letter?
You spoke to the things. Would you please submit them to the clerk, and she'll take them for the record?
Okay.
Thank you.
1 second, I gotta find
All
what I
right.
gotta give you.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the board on a future agenda item? This is something that's not on today's agenda, but is something that you'd like to see considered on a future agenda. All right. I'm going to go to Sarah Schenk, you are on the board. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Oh, that was from last time. No, I have anything further.
Actually, take it off.
Commissioner Whitmore?
I just want to be clear that there is a process going on through Tallahassee, which is correct. I also am under the understanding that Scott Rudisell's position hasn't changed since the day he started there, and I actually got it verified by the ones that are partners or members. I asked myself, and so that will be cleared up, I'm sure. Trust me, I don't like it when a family member comes before me any more than anybody else does. Before he was even married my daughter, I asked for opinions from the county. Then I wanted an ethics opinion from the state myself, just because I did not want to have anything perceived that there were any issues. I've had 3 opinions. At that meeting also, Mr. Smith had his mother, I think, that owns property or lives next door to the same property, and we both were told we had to vote. So, you know, whatever the ethics board says, I will comply with. But as far as I understand now, and I have no reason not to believe, that the situation that Scott Rudisell has with his firm has not changed. And I am allowed to say this publicly, according to these charges, on some charges that we get through the the campaign financing, we're not allowed to make comments. But since the person that made the complaint against me said something, I can make a comment. And everything I've said has been in the paper.
And Commissioner DiSabatino.
Yeah, that's an item for discussion after the opinion, but I know that the voting conflict the other day where I just had to sign this Form 8B because you all voted on something that I couldn't participate in, and just the instructions with it just indicate a conflict of interest is for the purposes of relative includes any officer's father, mother, son, daughter, husband, wife, brother, sister, father-in-law, mother-in-law, son-in-law, daughter-in-law.
Well, I think the point was it was being deferred to
Right.
the experts for an opinion.
So,
So we're going to wait for the opinion.
Yeah, and also you have to check if it's inured to your special gain or someone else's gain, so it's kind of puzzling. I know if my son-in-law were there, I don't think you'd all allow me to vote.
Yeah,
But
the law
anyway,
requires you to vote unless you have a conflict, so you
Madam
have to
Chair?
vote unless you have a conflict.
I
And
just
I
want to
was-
respond to
and
your
I was not
comments.
behind your thing.
All
I
right.
didn't say anything, but I want to say something to Ms.
Proceed
I'm-
with business.
Can I please talk? I have the
I'm
floor.
afraid that we have just started already on a track. We're going to list talk one at one. And if
Yes.
you don't talk one-on-one, then you will be asked to leave. You are not going to be able to, everyone talk at once
Right.
like you did at the last meeting. It's not going to happen. I will convene the meeting. We will stop the meeting if you can't control yourself. Push your buttons.
Mine's-
Commissioner DiSabatino is done, then Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
That other thing.
I find it very interesting that my mother's name was mentioned in this meeting, when the fact she wasn't given a presentation before us, and of course, yes, she does own property in the general area, would not benefit one way or the other with this issue. The facts are clear to me from the standpoint, which I asked the county attorney's office for that opinion. First time I seen it, it's outdated. I asked the county attorney to ask for another opinion from the Attorney General of the state of Florida. We can't deal with he say, she say. We have to deal with this issue in this meeting. I'm not saying Commissioner Whitmore cannot vote, but I read the articles in the newspapers also. I read the document that the county attorney's office gave me. I did go to the website that says principal, whether it's salary or not. And I don't know the main fact if it says principal, whether it's an increase in salary or not, does not, I'm not sure it does not still disqualify her from voting. So I'm asking for a legal opinion from the Attorney General. Normally, opinions are revisited every 3 to 4 years. The one I seen was 2011 from that standpoint. Conflict of interest, I have done before as a city commissioner when I was told that, yeah, you don't have a conflict of interest, but ethically, you may have an issue with that on voting. I have exited the door when I legally could have voted and came back in after the vote took place. That's what I normally did as a city commission. I have no idea or no reason to know the legal issue with this here. But what I am saying today, when you got residents coming here questioning the procedure that took place here, and we're dealing with an opinion from the Ethics Commission that's outdated in my opinion, we need to revisit that and make sure the information that we're receiving now is true. Now, I'm hearing that stuff is going to the Ethics Commission on investigation. I'm not going to deal with that. But whatever the law firm is doing, I talked to the county administrator, not the county administrator, the county attorney. He alluded to me that an affidavit may need to be signed to the fact that he's not a principal and receive additional money. I just don't know. But just because someone says that, the idea he may not need to receive any more money. The idea may be just because he's a principal may now disqualify that because in the opinion, it states specifically a principal. Principal necessarily don't mean you make more money, but the word principal may, in fact, disqualify the voting. So I don't know where the county, I see he just came down. So that was my concern, to protect us, because the residents do have recourse. If it comes down that someone says she shouldn't not had the ability to vote, we got a problem.
Thank you. Commissioner Whitmore.
And I 100% agree. And I look forward to them looking into this to make sure that I'm voting appropriately. I will never do anything illegally. And that's why there are 3 documented opinions that I had to vote. So if something changes, great, I'm fine with it. I do not break the law. But according to what was presented at the beginning of the meeting, that was stated by our attorney, that I had to vote. So we'll see what happens. Stay tuned.
Commissioner DeSabatino.
Yes, on a different topic, did you already close public comment? Some people came in.
Yes.
Oh, so they came in too late. Two items, the petitions that were exactly the same age, so I heard about it, I received an email, I responded back to the either the county attorney or the county administrator that, in my opinion, unless these petitions were stating one side or another, if you were just giving the facts about a charter government, they should have been allowed, and this was kind of unilateral decision midstream.
You can't talk from the audience. We can't pick you
Unilateral
up.
decision made by staff not to allow these people in our library to distribute information. And I think that should be allowed. So I'm making a motion that we allow the petitioners to reinstate their boxes and go to the library and hand out their information.
I'm going to second that with a question. I want to talk to Mr. Palmer because I kind of have an idea why he came to his conclusion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and a request for Mr. Palmer, if you could come forward and make comment. The specific question, I hope you heard it, and you may have been in transit in the elevator. The question that's being asked is about the petition boxes that were placed in the library and then removed because they were deemed to be pursuant to your memorandum, and they were deemed to be,
Biased one way or another.
no, I don't know, sorry. No, the stuff that you use when you campaigning type materials. But I'll defer to the county attorney.
So the question is,
There is a motion to reinstate.
Indeed, I was in transit down.
There was a motion to reinstate putting the petition boxes for the charter government back into the library. And Commissioner Smith seconded that, but he has a question about your memorandum that said that they should be removed, or they could be removed. I'm not exactly sure how.
I recommended removal.
Recommended removal, and so they were removed. And so I think there's, people want to understand why you're recommending approval. Before you got here, it was said that your opinions were just opinions, and they differed from a state opinion, an attorney general opinion, that you weren't consistent with that opinion, so.
That's news to me. I'm not aware of the Attorney General weighing in on this issue. Florida's election law is silent on the issue. Federal courts, on the other hand, have addressed the issue of political activity within public libraries on numerous occasions over the years. And I talked about those various federal court opinions in my memorandum. So it is here for public consumption. I recommended the removal of the petitions because of the slippery slope, as I called it, familiar phrase to most of us, that is involved if we open up our public libraries to political activities of one kind. We are potentially opening the door to political activities of all kinds. And that is a very, very dangerous precedent in my mind. It is contrary to the primary mission of libraries, which is quiet, contemplative study. And again, the courts have spoken on this on numerous occasions. I've talked about those court opinions in my memo. I stand by it.
Thank you. Commissioner DiSabatino.
Yes, so you indicated that the supervisor of election is silent on this. I see a difference between these petitions to become a charter government versus a candidate running for office putting their material there. That's totally different, and that I support.
I respectfully disagree.
That should not be.
Political activity is political activity. Nevertheless, it is my recommendation. It is this board's prerogative to do otherwise. I simply want to warn you that it is a very slippery slope.
Well, to me, it was very similar to this instance where we were during a primary, and the county administrator unilaterally made a decision that the supervisor of election had to get all the political signs off his property, off the early voting places. It's always been done that way, and it caused a ruckus. And so this board voted to nullify that and reinstate the signs there. So I just think that for now, I think that these boxes should be allowed as long as the people that are giving them out aren't stating one way or another. They're just giving information, just like we did at the half-cent sales tax. You're giving information.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, I don't support charter governments as of today. However, I support the right to organize. My understanding is, Mr. Palmer, that it was the language on the side of the box basically saying, throw the commissioners out. That was of great concern on the box. But what stops Ms. Elliott from going to the library once a week or reserving a room like we do, allow anyone else to do, and gather petitions?
Meeting rooms within our libraries have been traditionally open for all kinds of citizen groups to meet. The local common law grand jury met within a conference room in one of our local libraries and indicted myself and everyone on this board, quote, unquote.
Okay.
So that is an extreme example. So yes, we have allowed our conference rooms in the libraries to be used for all manner of gatherings. I've not spoken on that issue in this memorandum. What I have said is that this government has a history, a history of an informal policy. It is true, you won't find anything in writing. Nevertheless, this government has a history, an informal policy history of disallowing political activities in all of its buildings, to include the very building in which we stand today. So I deem that to be a lawful policy, and that obviously encompasses your libraries as well. And again, I have warned in my memorandum about the dangers involved in slightly opening that door and beginning to allow political activity, because it will be Katie bar the door.
Okay, so Ms. Elliott could reserve the room at a library, just like anyone else does, and put up a sign, meeting here for an hour, whatever it may be that day, and say, you may come in here, I'm meeting, and do you want to sign this petition? Would that be legal?
Commissioner, I am disinclined to parse all manner of various factual inquiries. If someone wants to reserve our room and meet with like-minded people and potentially pass out petitions during the course of a one-hour meeting for however long they've reserved the room,
Okay.
I suppose that's okay. So in spite of my disinclination to parse specific factual scenarios, I guess I've just done so.
Okay, I just wanted her to hear this, and I haven't seen an opinion from the election office in Tallahassee. Is that on the record now? Do we have a copy of that? Could you, okay, we have a copy of that.
I have not
Okay.
seen anything from the elections office. Again, my
From Tallahassee, not here.
my guess is that what they have said is that elections law is silent on the issue, which does not run counter to my opinion.
Okay, that's my question, but I want to deal with the idea of the ethics, what Mr. Palmer had the conversation with.
Well, let's wait, let's stay to this issue, because we have a motion on the floor.
I'm going
Commissioner
to withdraw
Whitmore,
my motion based on what he said.
you're going to withdraw your second?
Yeah, I'm gonna draw my
Right.
second because of the fact that, I think that it's basically being said that they can go into the library. They can reserve an hour or whatever the rules and regulations state. They can do it every night, every week, or whatever it is. And
Well,
do
they are
that.
subject to the scheduling requirements of the individual libraries.
Yes, I understand that.
I would expect that if some particular group were to attempt to dominate the schedule of the conference room at a particular library, that staff might have some hesitation about that. But again, the meeting rooms have traditionally been open for all manner of gatherings.
Ms. Elliott, I will revisit this another day. As I mentioned to you today, I don't support charter governments based on constitutional officers and things like that, but I do support your right to have residents of this county to sign a petition. I'm not really concerned about the box, it's just the language was on the box. My understanding, making political statements on the box, and that's what I'm concerned with. So I'm going to withdraw my second to
Okay.
that motion, Madam Chair. Ms. Elliott, you feel free to give me a call, but I think you can go and reserve the room today and organize in that manner. I just don't want to limit the freedom of speech. And I'm not saying the county attorney's doing that. His job is to protect us, but I believe in a more high standard.
No,
for
there's
me
no
being
more
elected.
public comment. Public comment has been closed in this
Thank
public
you.
hearing.
Commissioners, I might add, the most classic example of what the courts refer to as a traditional public forum is just a few paces across the street, the courthouse square. The courthouse square is traditionally recognized as the most classic example of a public forum for the expression of free speech. Sidewalks are classically recognized. Streets, assuming that you go through the appropriate permitting process to demonstrate on public streets, another classically recognized traditional public forum. The advent of the internet has amazingly changed the manner in which folks can exercise their free speech rights. So to suggest that I am squelching free speech rights with my limited opinion memo is just plain wrong.
Thank you. I just did want to note, because when I was trying to collect petitions to have my name put on the ballot, I was escorted off of the property, school board property, because of what it states in the supervisor's elections memo, that you cannot do any campaigning on any public property. So I was not even thinking about it because it was the day of the parade, and there were a lot of people gathered at the school board getting ready for the parade, and I went around with my petitions, and I was told I had to leave the school board property. So I don't think that this opinion is inconsistent with that, and that was only to get my name on the ballot. It was not to have me elected, just to put my name on the ballot. So I see this as being totally consistent with what the supervisor of elections puts out to each and every candidate that runs for office. So I just wanted to state that. We're going to go ahead with our agenda unless we want to.
Mr. Palmer, about the ethics
Oh,
complaint.
Commissioner Smith had a question
But
about.
on your point,
Other
I was
second.
backing away from the
I'm
microphone.
sorry,
I
there
just
but
want
I'm
to verify,
reapproaching.
so there's no other second?
Yes.
Okay, so they're not voting. Okay.
Motion dies for lack of a second.
but
Thank
let-
you for clarifying.
but to Commissioner, Madam Chair point, I do believe, I may be wrong, but I think if a petition is not considered campaigning, and I believe you can actually sign one in a government building, but you can't campaign.
I was told no.
We had to have
But most people don't know the statute.
Sales
You know.
tax was in.
Well, that's why we're asking the experts.
Most people don't know the statute, but I think you can actually sign a petition to get on the ballot, but that's not considered campaigning.
Thank you.
I
I
can go
was
to the
told that.
library and ask somebody to sign a petition, I believe. I mean, my personal petition, but.
Commissioner Smith, did you have something else you wanted to
Well,
ask?
it came up, I had the conversation with the county attorney. As I mentioned to you, I asked for a copy of the ethics complaint. I believe the ethics complaint is outdated. I think this board should get another opinion based on the facts that have changed, whether salary or not. It says principal, and it should be a more update opinion from the Attorney General or the powers to be, because we're voting on land use issues that transfer to millions of dollars without decision. And certainly I would feel very uncomfortable if it comes back with this complaint saying, well, the word principal changes something. And regardless of salary or not, principal disqualifies this, and we're taking action consistently, and we're voting up here. And I do believe that vote was a 4-3 vote. From that standpoint, it wouldn't have affected any of the 5-2 votes, but I think we need another opinion. We need some more recent. It has changed versus salary or not. When I got this from your office, the assistant, I did see principal, whether it's salary or not, and I did read the opinion. It says salary. If principal, it'd be different. So I think what we're saying, since it's a salary position, and he still makes the same money, that it's fine. That's what the opinion said then, but it also said if he was a principal. So that's what I'm concerned about. Now, he's a great attorney. I worked with him with the city of Palmetto. Scott is an awesome person. Personally, he's a very nice guy, and so I don't want to put nothing out on him. I think he's a very honest person, but I'm saying to protect this dais, if all of a sudden something changed and they say, oh, that word principal changes things regardless, because that can be deferment down the road. And so, yes, it's a conflict now. I just don't know.
Commissioners, I assume the subject is Commissioner Whitmore's son-in-law, correct? Once again, I was in transit coming
Yeah.
down. Commissioner Whitmore continues to rely on Commission on Ethics Opinion 11-04. I've heard it suggested that it may be outdated. As I understand it, the facts and circumstances have not changed. If it's the desire of bear in mind that voting conflicts are issues that are personal to the elected official. And so if we are going to ask for a new, fresh opinion from the Commission on Ethics, I'm happy to do so. I would ask that Commissioner Whitmore give me the instruction to pursue that, since voting conflicts are matters that are personal to the elected official. She's nodding her head affirmatively. I am more than happy to submit a fresh new request to the Commission on Ethics. I will be shocked if their opinion differs in any way from that which was issued in 2011. I will be shocked. Understand that various private law firms use a wide range of titles, internal titles, for their lawyers. principal, partner, those terms mean different things in different law firms. The focus of the Commission on Ethics in the 2011 opinion was whether or not Mr. Rudisill had an equity interest in the profits and losses of the law firm. I am told that he did not, well, he clearly did not then, and I am told that he does not now have any equity interest in the profits or losses of that law firm. You know, I suppose if we asked for a sworn affidavit from the president of the firm or something, or the managing partner of the firm. So, assuming that circumstance has not changed, Commissioner Whitmore is free to cast votes on land use matters in which her son-in-law represents the applicant. So, in my mind, nothing has changed. But again, I'm getting an affirmative nod from Commissioner Whitmore. We'll be happy to ask the Commission on Ethics to weigh in yet again on the same set of facts and circumstances. And by the way, the Attorney General does not involve itself in ethics questions. Questions of ethical responsibility under the state's ethics code are questions that are within the province of the Commission on Ethics. If you were to ask the Attorney General to weigh in on an ethics-based question, they will respectfully decline. That is the province of the Commission on Ethics.
Oh, Mr. Palmer, I've had a couple done on me with the Attorney General. I don't know. As a city commissioner, trust me, and the opinion came down the pipe on me personally as a city commissioner on several instances, so I don't know about that.
Chapter 112, the
It
Commission
was an
on...
ethics issue. It was illegal. You
Part
said
3 of
ethics.
Chapter 112 is the exclusive province of the Commission on Ethics. The Attorney General will not weigh in. That is the advice that I'm giving this board. I stand
Mr.
by that
Palmer,
advice.
you're using ethic. I'm not using the word ethics. I'm not questioning the ethics
Voting
of this
conflicts
issue.
is an ethics question under Chapter 112.
The fact,
It
look,
squarely falls under Chapter 112.
I see you trying to defend yourself. My whole point is that how many times have we seen shocking opinions come from the court?
We are not going to get in a debate on a land use
May I
meeting
finish?
about this issue.
May I
I'm sorry,
finish
you
my
don't even
comment?
have the board. You are off of the board, Commissioner
I'm the one
Smith.
who was on the board when he was speaking.
This question has been asked, it's been answered. I am
I
not
need to
going to have this
respond. May I respond,
meeting
Madam
being
Chair?
taken over.
May I
Can't
respond?
do our
May I
business.
respond, Madam Chair?
If you can finish.
Okay, you allowed him to say I need to respond. That's the only thing I'm asking.
We're not gonna
I
debate
sat
this
here
issue.
quietly. Mr. Palmer, how many times have you seen shocking rulings come from the ethics and from the judicial system that stuns people?
Just yesterday.
Absolutely. That stun people. So to say
if
that you'll
it's-
be shocked, it's every day the courts are ruling a decision that people disagree with.
If it's the desire of the board for me to write a letter to the Attorney General saying, hey, would you like to weigh in on a Chapter 112 ethics question, I'll be happy to do
My
that.
last comment, if it comes back and ethics says something different, you're putting your job on the line now. I'm trying to protect you by asking for opinion. I'm letting you know that. If they come back and say, well, we disagree now. Okay, I'm letting you know. I'm done with it.
All right. Mr. Whitmore's on the board.
Yeah, first of all, I'm asking you, please do the letter, the information
We'll be
to
happy
the
to do
Ethics
that.
Board. But I don't care, write a letter
To
to,
vote on it.
I
No, we don't.
have the floor.
She has the floor. You are
personal
not
for
allowed
me.
to interrupt per 523. Do not interrupt again.
All right.
Commissioner
so-
Whitmore.
So to continue, I would request that you go ahead and, if you don't, this is going to take more, I may need a vote if it takes more than a half-hour time to direct them to do something, but I don't have a problem with you writing a letter to the Attorney General, so, to see, and if they say we don't do it, at least we have it documented. I am one of the ones that have been involved 3 times to have this go before the state to make sure I had no conflict. Every time I've asked for it. So to say that I'm trying to hide something is totally not correct. And now, that's not what I had my button pushed for. I agree 100% on what Commissioner Smith said about the petitions. I had no problems with petitions, and I didn't see them, but I heard the boxes said stop mining, stop land use approvals, stop the commissioners. First of all, people are given the wrong information. There is a new Florida statute, a few years old now, that charter governments, if you haven't been implemented since 2011, development orders cannot be voted on in charter governments anymore by the citizens. And I just wanted to confirm that statute, and then that's it, and then let's move on to our meeting, please.
I want to do a point of order. Do we need a vote to ask for this ethics opinion, for you to ask this ethics opinion?
Take more than a half hour?
Commissioner DiSabatino seems to think that pursuant to our procedures that we need to vote on whether or not to get this ethics.
The board would like to, if Madam Chair, if you would like to entertain a motion and take a vote, it's unnecessary, but if the board prefers to do that, I regard it as surplusage, unnecessary. If the board wants to do that, you can certainly do so.
I'll make a motion to request the attorney get an opinion from the Ethics Commission and also write a letter to the Attorney General to make sure that Commissioner Whitmore has no conflicts in voting with the relationships between her position here and her son-in-law Scott Rudisell's position at Blaylock Walters. Sorry, forgot.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. We have a motion. I think I heard Commissioner Smith before Commissioner Johnson. A motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Chair votes aye. Motion
Nay.
passes.
You didn't wait.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All those nay, I said nay, because he's acting for one commissioner, basically, and you're not allowed to act as one commissioner acting as a board, but the board voted, so go ahead.
I didn't. All right.
Oh,
I'm
did-
sorry.
did-
Let's raise hands. All in favor of the motion to ask for the ethics decision, raise your hand, please. All those opposed? Okay, motion passes 5-2.
And just to be clear, any individual commissioner is free to come to my office and say, I would like an opinion from the Commission on Ethics on subject X in terms of my conduct, and we will then pursue that for you. It does not require a vote of this board. Again, voting conflict issues are personal to the commissioner. And so any one of you can come to my office at any time and say, I'd like a Commission on Ethics opinion on this subject, and we will pursue that for you. So,
Thank you. Commissioner DiSabatino?
Yeah, I'm on the board, not about this. Since the folks are here, I'm just going to throw it out. I know it won't get seconded. Just for the board to make a motion for the board to explore a exploratory committee to explore a charter government.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'm not stating my opinion whether I'm for it or against it. I'm just stating my opinion that I think that the citizens have a right to have this explored.
Commissioners, I would strongly urge you to place this subject on an agenda. Or,
I'm
you know,
just throwing it out
if
there.
you're going to take it up at all, I would strongly urge you to do it as an agended item, as opposed to an instantaneous motion of this nature.
Okay.
That would be my recommendation to you, if you're going to take it up at all.
All right, the
That's your
motion-
prerogative.
Motion dies for lack of a second. Commissioner Smith?
Madam Chair, to the point of that, I had a conversation with Mr. Palmer and Mr. Clegg, dealing with the issue of charter governments, and from that standpoint, and I don't know of one that when it got to the ballot, it didn't pass. I talked to him also about if they are going to move forward with this petition and so forth, getting ahead of it, even a workshop on it. But as I mentioned to you, I believe in the people who are thinking or doing this. They have a voice. I don't support the position right now. However, I support the freedom of dialogue to address this issue in a public forum. So I have no problem with discussing this issue or even having a workshop. I have no idea which form of government they're talking about or what they want to do, but I hear a lot of people out there talking about charter governments, and I believe we should at least give them an opportunity to address that issue in a public forum. I believe we received a letter from the Women League of Voters last night dealing with this issue. I have no problem with dialogue. I'm on record, will not be supporting charter government, but I believe the people have a right to express themselves, and so we understand why they're moving this direction. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Baugh?
Thank you. You know, I didn't vote for the motion because when it's up here on the dais and a motion's made, it needs to be for all of our board as a whole. I do believe that as this board, we do have the right to make a motion to get this done. I think that it's hung over us long enough It has been an issue that has caused this board problems before I was even on the board. So, and I think the other thing that we need to remember, Madam Chair, is that every commissioner up here has the same rights as any other commissioner, and they need to be treated the same with respect, whether we like what they're saying or not. They are a commissioner just as you, me, Commissioner Whitmore, all of us. We're all the same. Not one has more control or ability in being right or wrong than the other. So I would ask that we all, the commissioners on this board, treat the rest with the same type of respect that you expect to receive from the commission as well. The only question that I have about getting this is how long, does anybody know, I'm just curious, how long, and by the way, I do know him, and I think that her brother or her son-in-law is a great guy. I like him a lot. I think he's a good lawyer. How long has he been with Baylock Walters? I have no clue. 5 years?
I don't even know. Oh, so I've had the opinion, so he's changed law firms actually, and that's what he had said in the newspaper. Pardon me, I'm not on the board.
You can ask the dialogue.
Well, I'm not
following
done.
the rules.
Can I finish, please?
We're going to
That
follow
was
the
just a
rules
question.
specifically today.
And the reason I'm asking the question, because I sure hope that if it's been 5 years, that this man has received a raise of some sort in 5 years. However, that being said, sometimes appearance just shows that something might not be right, whether it is or not. Just the appearance of it can put a bad taste in the citizens of this county's mouth. And I think we need to think about that. And even though it might be that legally our county attorneys and the Attorney General, I'm assuming, says it's okay, doesn't mean that you necessarily have to do it. You have to make sure that we try to do and look proper to the citizens of this county. I'm not saying I'm for or against it. I'm just making that statement. Last but not least, charter government. I would have to agree with everything Commissioner Smith said. I don't know enough to be for or against. However, I do believe that I think the group that is pushing this needs to look into many issues to make sure that you'll be able to accomplish whatever it is that you're wanting to accomplish. If it's to get rid of commissioners, you have an opportunity to do that every 4 years. You can do it. If it's to make land use decisions, you won't be able to do that. So make sure whatever your goals are, that you can accomplish them as a charter government, because I don't know enough about it to be for or against, but I do feel that the citizens of this county have the right to be heard, and so if somebody wants to meet with me, I'm open. And Madam Chair, with that being said, I don't have anything else. Thank you, and I'd love to move on with this meeting.
All right, well, I'm next to speak. I pushed my button. The fact of the matter is anyone can file any ethics complaint that they want without repercussions, apparently. It happens all the time. Ethics complaints are filed. The newspaper writes about them, but just because the newspaper writes about them doesn't mean that there's facts there in that ethics complaint that somebody filed. So I would caution people when they read things in the newspaper to assume that they are true. That generally goes without saying, even without ethics complaints. In regards to board procedures, I have received much feedback regarding our last meeting about how it was so out of control. And I take that very seriously as your chair, as a complaint against me, that I could not control this board's actions. I'm going to read to you the rules of discussion, and we will follow them today, or I will adjourn the meeting. It specifically says, every commissioner desiring to speak shall notify the presiding officer, and upon recognition, shall confine himself or herself to the question under debate. However, the chair may allow commissioners to dialogue with each other to obtain information or clarification on an issue under discussion. Interruption. A commissioner, once recognized, shall not be interrupted when speaking, unless it is to call that commissioner to order. I think it's very important because we have huge concerns to our community. We know that. Folks show up on a weekly basis with huge concerns. They look to us to make decisions, and we have to do it in an ordered manner. We're not going to allow interruptions. And I just assume let everyone talk and debate as much as possible, but we have to do it in an ordered manner. So I will be following this as closely as I can today. Commissioner Trace?
Mr. Palmer, what does it cost to get an ethics opinion? In other words, what we just voted on, what's that going to cost us?
An
Anything?
opinion from the Commission on Ethics?
Yes, what we just voted for Carol, what is that actually going to cost us?
Commission on Ethics does not charge anything to
I would
to
recommend
issue
then that
opinions.
every January 1st, as long as Scott is an attorney and Carol is a commissioner, that you get an ethics so we can have that and not have this argument every time. If it's not costing us anything, it's not going to hurt anything to have that on a piece of paper. And I don't know what it costs his attorney, his office, if they have to submit something once a year, but so be it.
We can certainly do that. I just don't know, I don't know what the commission's reaction would be to receiving an identical question every January 1. I expect that they probably wouldn't appreciate
think
that.
on this one-
But nevertheless, we can certainly do that. If that is the pleasure of this board, we
All
can
right, I
certainly
would
do that.
recommend, Carol, that you ask Mr. Palmer at a certain date every year to please, so we have this on a piece of paper. If it's not costing us anything, I would love to see that, because I don't really want to argue about this every time that Scott presents something before us. If she's supposed to vote, and I know Carol is trying her best to do whatever is legal, if the ethics comes out and says she can't vote, she won't vote. She's not the one saying, I got to vote, I got to vote. So please, let's move on. As far as the charter government, I would love to see the county either at the convention center or something. Let's get the people that are interested in, let's get the people, and maybe we can have I don't even want to call it a work session, but let's do a charter government, and let's look at it and get all the people that maybe know about it. I don't know enough about it to have an opinion, and, but I agree with you. If that's what we want to go, let's do it. But I would love to get this meeting going, because I'm an early morning person, and I like to go home and take a nap.
Commissioner Whitmore?
Just real quick, that's a great idea, and what we did years ago when this came before us, when the citizens, the cities, and the county were all fighting, we actually asked Cliff Walters to be the mediator, and it was a meeting with everyone. It was a public meeting. I think, whatever you want to do, but it's been done before. That's how the Accord was born.
Okay, well, I'm hearing our board say that they'd like, and I'm going to call it a work session for lack of, we only have meetings or work sessions. So we're talking about putting this on a work session agenda, charter government, I think. And I wanted to say, Priscilla, hold that book up that I gave you back. Priscilla lent me this book. This is an excellent book that I would encourage citizens and all commissioners to read. This is the new commissioner guide. It gives a great history. It explains the different types of government. It really educates you. And if you haven't read it, I would suggest that you read this, especially the introductory chapters. I think, Rosalie, this is something that you need to encourage your membership, because I know you're trying to educate, and I appreciate that. In regards to the different forms of government, what can and can't be done, but also you have to be very cognizant of the actions that the legislature has taken since this is no secret, they're really trying to control home rule, the legislature, and so they've made many decisions that restrict what can and can't be done, even in charter governments, by legislative action, but I think that is a great introduction. Commissioner Trace?
I have no idea where this book came from. It appeared on my desk. I mean, it is not made up. But someone told me it cost $500, because I did ask I said I thought every commissioner should have it. I have no idea if that is true. I'm just saying that is what I was told. I'd be happy to loan it to people or whatever, or maybe Charles is our fact person. Maybe you could ask somebody if A, that is true, and B, maybe we can get just a couple to have on file here.
Commissioner Smith?
Madam Chair, as you know, I'm a certified county commissioner. That book and those books are in the class that the professors go over, so you know what your responsibilities are. And any commissioner can go, and they will go over that, as I have, went over. And I gave Mr. Palmer one book. I got about 8 in my office. That could have came from my office. I just don't know.
I don't know. See, Priscilla just lent it to me when I.
But it's a great book. It talks about forms of government and charter governments and things like that. That's why I think we should have a workshop dealing with charter governments, because I don't know what the residents are asking, and you were correct. If they're talking about just getting everybody out, that's not a charter government. You got to be specific on what you're asking for, and that's why I think we need a public meeting. If that's the case, Commissioner Barr is correct. You're still not going to get the people out with a charter government. You still can't deal with land use issues with a charter government. You can regulate city issues and constitutionals. So we need a clearinghouse in a public forum, Madam Chair.
Okay, well, I think we hear a consensus that we want to have a work session.
Yes.
On this issue. I don't think we have to vote. I think we got a consensus. All right, will somebody make a motion then?
I so move, we have a work session
Second.
on charter governments, Madam Chair. That's my motion.
We have a
question.
motion and a second. Commissioner Trace?
I would love to see it in the evening somewhere, though, where people can, not necessarily, when I said not in the work session, I was more, there seems to be a lot of citizen wants to come in. That's why I was saying more like at the Civic Center or something and do it 6 to 9 and, or something versus daytime.
I'm fine with staff coordinating the time frame.
And I'm much better at 6 in the morning, but I know that I'm weird, so. I will go 6 in the evening.
So does the motion, or are you?
I'm correct, yes, absolutely. I'm fine with that. I think it should be in the afternoon so we can get in front of this and find out what the concerns the residents have, so they be educated by our attorney's office, what you can do, regardless of the charter, is what you can't do.
Okay, we have a motion, Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner DeSabatino, to have this, it's been modified, to have this after business hours, I think is what I heard.
Yes.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Chair votes aye, motion passes.
Madam Chair, do I also hear consensus that you would like your county attorney's office to lead that discussion on that day?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Just asking.
No,
Happy
yeah.
to do so.
Yeah.
Happy to do so. Just
Coordinate
asking.
it with the League of Women Voters, I would think.
Well,
Well, no, it's
Well-
going to be run through the county.
Yeah.
Everyone will have an opportunity to speak. It'll be a public meeting. Everyone will have an opportunity to speak. Certainly, if the League of Women Voters want to have specific questions asked, they can submit those to any board member to put those on the agenda. And, but yes, I would think that the county attorney's office can take the lead, but work with our county administration as well, since they handle all work sessions, obviously.
And let me be clear, it was simply a choice. It wasn't a choice of whether the county attorney is going to lead the discussion or the League of Women Voters is going to lead the discussion. No, no, no. Your choice is, do you want it to be an administration item for the discussion to be led by the administration, or a county attorney item for the discussion to be led by my office?
County attorney.
I see those as your two choices.
County attorney. Yeah,
Happy
you-
to do
You got
so.
the legal expertise for it.
We are well equipped to do so and happy to do so.
All right, well, we did take a motion, so I should probably take public comment on that motion. So I'm going to take public comment real quick after the fact. Ms. Schaefer wants to speak on this issue. Come forward.
I didn't see it.
Let's see.
I want to thank you very much for that motion. I really appreciate it. I think a lot of citizens will be really happy to hear that this issue is coming forward. And one of the suggestions I would make as far as an expert to bring in could be Ken Spitzer. He's a charter government expert, and he can give the view overall in the state of Florida of charter government and how it's working and how it is best designed. And it would take us out of our own circle of knowledge and bring in, his more greater expertise on the subject. And now he probably would charge something for doing that, but it may be worth the money so that we all understand what can be done, what is being done, what can't be done.
Thank you. Anyone else? This is on charter government only. Please come forward. State your name for the record.
Hello, I just want to thank you also for making that motion to have a workshop, give people some education, including yourselves, about it, and maybe we can all come to some kind of consensus about the committee. I really appreciate that. I would like to ask again, not about the boxes, but may just the petitions from the League of Women Voters be in the library. They are nonpartisan. It's strictly what it says is required by law to be on the petition, not the boxes. Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you.
think a lot of citizens are going to be pleased too.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak on after the fact, on the decision the board made to have a work session? Okay, seeing no one come forward, I'm going to close public comment. Commissioner Johnson.
If we're going to go down this road and do a workshop, I would strongly recommend that we also include as part of that workshop all the constitutional officers.
absolutely.
And all the mayors.
Yes.
Because they have a, big hand in how this gets going. And so I think we need to extend an invitation and make them not just out in the audience, but part of the group that is sitting around discussing this.
Absolutely. I think that's a great suggestion. I think we all agree that they need to be part of the discussion and presentation. Commissioner Smith?
I just want to echo that Attorney Palmer brought that issue up when he was meeting with me. Exactly what you said.
Okay, great. All right, we're going to move forward with our business on our agenda today. Could I have everyone who's going to speak in a quasi-judicial meeting, please stand up and be sworn?
Till 9 o'clock.
It throws you off. Sit here.
Do you swear or affirm that the factual statements and factual representations which you are about to present to this board will be truthful and accurate? Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to turn over to staff. We have a few items that are advertised, public hearings, presentations upon request. We'll open those one by one and ask if there's need for any presentation or public comment. Nicole, item number 3.
Item number 3 is PDC 1618 ZP Arctic Palm Company, Arctic Palm Self-Storage, and the item has officially been withdrawn by the applicant.
All right. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to item number 3? Since it was advertised, we would have to take public comment if someone wanted to speak. Anyone who would like to speak to that? All right. Seeing no one come forward, I'll go ahead and close public comment, and that item has been withdrawn, so will no longer be heard. Item number 4.
Item number 4 is PA 1703, Ordinance 1707. This is a county-initiated map amendment, Robbins Apartments. This is a transmittal of a plan amendment providing for a county-initiated amendment to the future land use map to designate specific real property from retail office residential to industrial light, future land use classification, approximately 10.4 acres, said property being located at 2303 First Street East in Bradenton.
Does any board member desire a presentation on this? Okay. Seeing no one come forward, I'll go ahead and open public comment on item number 4, PA 1703, Ordinance 17-7. Is there anyone who'd like to address the board on this application? Seeing no one come forward, I'll go ahead and close public comment. Commissioner Trace.
I move that we accept ordinance number PA 1703, 1717.
Second that motion, Madam Chair.
This is the approval of the recommended motion. It's been moved and second. Commissioner DeSabatino.
No, I just wanted to thank Travis and staff for working on this and moving it along, and he's here today, and just wanted to thank he and his father and the team for all they're doing in the community.
That's right, and advertising here in our chambers for rent. They're doing a great job over there. We're glad to see everything moving along. So, Commissioner Whitmore?
Is this the only item that Brandon's going to be presenting today? Okay, he's moving, this is his last presentation, I think, with us, so good job.
Good presentation, Brandon.
Really
Into
good.
Denver.
Maybe we should make him give the presentation.
Right.
Okay.
Good job.
Good luck, Brandon.
We'll miss you.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Chair votes aye, motion passes. Oh, Brandon going to Denver, big city.
And it's amazing how
money.
it always lasts. Gosh,
I found it on
Good
Facebook.
luck. We'll miss you.
bummer.
Good job.
We'll miss you.
A millennial leaving.
The millennial taking off for the big
Oh,
city.
Denver,
Shocking.
Why not? I found
All
it on
right.
Facebook.
Item number 5, ordinance 1707, Sarasota Bradenton International Airport. This is quasi-judicial. Has there been any ex parte communication on this item?
Madam Chair, I'm just going to note you can open 5 and 6 together.
Okay.
You vote separately.
All right, and I'll open item number 6 also. which is PDMU 9907 GR6. Also quasi-judicial staff, do you want to read those into the record? I'm sorry, I'm moving too fast.
That's okay. Item number 5, ordinance 1707, Sarasota Bradenton International Airport. This is an amended and restated development order for the Sarasota Bradenton International Airport of Regional Impact, DRI number 15, to approve the following changes to map H and the development order. Add a 140-foot personal wireless service facility as an allowable use in parcel 3. Deduct 900 square feet from the previously approved office use total of 15,000 square feet in parcel 3, resulting in a new remaining office total of 14,100 square feet. And update table 3 illustrating shifting phase 1 and phase 2 into one phase. The companion ordinance that goes with that is PDMU 9907 GR6, which is item number 6 on the agenda this morning. And that's amending the zoning ordinance and general development plan to allow all the changes that I mentioned in the previous. Sarasota Bradenton International Airport is bordered by 41 to the west, Halifax to the north, and 15th Street and University to the south, and zone PDMU and Airport Overlay District.
Okay, so we have 2 items that are open that are quasi-judicial, 5 and 6. Has there been any ex parte communication? All right. Does anyone need a presentation? Okay, I'll open item number 5 and 6 to public comment. Is there anyone who would like to comment on items number 5 and 6? Okay, seeing no one come forward, I'm going to close the public comment. What's the pleasure of the board?
Approve recommended.
Motion that we approve all those numbers. Where are we at?
5 and 6.
5 and 6,
No,
how's that?
do 'em-
Number 5.
Let's do it
Five.
separately. Let's do it
Separately.
separately. We have to vote separately.
Let's do ordinance 17-07 first.
Okay, we have a motion for
Second.
approval and seconded for ordinance 1707. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Chair votes aye, motion passes. Item number 6.
Motion to approve the recommended motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve recommended motion and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you. All right. Item number 7, if you'd like to read that into the record, please.
Item number 7 is PDR 1521 ZG, Novemo Constructions, Inc., Novemo rezone. This is a rezone of approximately 1.16 acres from neighborhood commercial medium to planned development residential zoning district, located on the west side of Center Road and south side of Terracea Road, commonly known as 1891 Center Road, Palmetto, Terracea, for a general development plan to allow one lot for a single-family detached residence.
Okay, has there been any ex parte communication on this item? Item number 7. All right, would any board member like a presentation on item number 7? Asking for that, we'll go ahead and go to public comment. Is there anyone who would like to have a public comment regarding item number 7, PDR 15-21ZG? Seeing no one come forward, I'll close the public comment portion. Commissioner Trace?
I move we accept PDR 1521.
Second.
That be your moving the recommended motion?
Yes.
These recommended motions are so long, you don't want to read them. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Chair votes aye, motion passes. All right. Next up is LDA 1302, Local Development Agreement for North Manatee Investment. Nicole, please read into the record.
Item number 8 is LDA 1302R2, Local Development Agreement for North Manatee Investment LLC and Parish Holdings LLC, the Villages of Amazon South. And this is the second of 2 hearings, the first being 2 days ago on Tuesday of this week.
One of the fastest moving items we've ever had, I think. Any ex parte communication? As I stated on Tuesday, I did receive a call from Alan Jones asking me about this application. I told him it was really just to extend the time frame of it. However, I couldn't talk more about it and didn't really know a lot of the specifics, and deferred him to staff, and I think staff is going to call him to fill him in on what is going on with this application, so I just didn't want to disclose that. All right, does anyone need any presentation or any questions? Okay, I'll open this item up to public comment. This is LDA 1302. Any public comment? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close public comment. What's the pleasure of the board?
Recommend that we accept the recommended motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion for approval of the recommended motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Chair votes aye. Next to item number 9, Nicole.
Item number 9 is PDC 1528ZG. This is the Artis Wisnet family, Wisnet Farms Racetrack, US 301 in Ellington, Gillette. This is a rezone of approximately 2.27 acres on the northwest corner of US 301 and Ellington Gillette Road, from neighborhood commercial medium to planned development commercial zoning district, and a preliminary site plan for 5,400 square foot convenience store with 8 gas pumps, 16 fueling stations, and an 8,700 square foot dispensing canopy.
Okay, is there any ex parte communication on this item?
Yes. I will have to recluse myself. Sarah?
And
Yeah.
County Attorney, make sure we do this correctly for the record.
Yes, Commissioner Trace has a financial interest as one of the property owners of the property that's the subject of zoning ordinance number PDC 1528 CP, consisting of 2.27 acres, generally located at 3514 and 3600 US 301 North Ellington in Manatee County. And Commissioner Trace has submitted Form 8B, a memorandum of voting conflict of interest, to the clerk for the record, and will abstain from participating in voting on this matter.
Okay, thank you. Staff, do you have introductory comments?
Good morning, Madam Chair, and other member of the County Commissioner, Rosina Leider by the staff. Here is Mr. Mark Barnaby representing the applicant. If after his presentation you have any particular question or you would like a full presentation, I am here to do it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move to the applicant's presentation. Barnaby?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
It's wonderful to be here, and hopefully I'll be relatively short, but I do have I'm going to remind some of the Commission of some of the history, because this site actually has some of the most colorful story that goes with it in Manatee County's history.
Oh.
But I'll get to that, and some of you may remember that, but you probably don't associate it with it. This is, I'm here on behalf of Racetrack Petroleum, the Wisnets, Artie's family, and also Manatee County, who owns the southern 20 feet of this property. It's kind of nice to be in front of you as representing you in that regard. With me today are Sarah McGowan of Racetrack and Matt Campo, the project engineer. This is a request for a rezone for a site plan to plan development commercial for a 6,000 square foot racetrack facility market with 16 fueling stations at the northwest corner of US 301 and Ellington Gillette Road. As you can see in your staff reports, the future land use designation on this is Res 9, and it is a commercial node, and therefore it's very appropriate for this type of use. It is also currently zoned NCM, neighborhood commercial medium, and the reason we're asking for plan development is we need a couple variances just to make it fit, because it's an odd shaped parcel. It's about it's an angular shaped parcel, kind of an L shape. Rosina has done a great job with her staff report. I want to thank her and the rest of the staff on this request. Staff is recommending approval, and we have addressed all the issues with staff to date, and we're very pleased with that. Let me talk about the site. This is the current building on the site. Is a bank building. It is vacant at the moment, and it has been vacant for some time. To our north and a little bit to our west is a shopping center. That is also largely vacant. There are some shops in the eastern side of it, but the main store in the middle is vacant, and as is the store on the western side. Did I mess that up? Oh, thank you. See, just when we get it straightened out, right?
Mark
All right, this is the property to the east of the site, across Ellington Gillette. It is you have a Stop and Shop store and a auto repair establishment. To the south, You have Jay's Discounts Beverages, and you also have, as you can see here, and some other commercial. Also, you have the Three Oaks Grill, and that is just to the south. And then to the west of this site is, there is a bank, the BB&T Bank and facility. Now, and you can see kind of how that area currently is. If I might, I'd like to go back to the mid-1990s in your mind. And at that time, the shopping center was brand new. There was a Food Lion in there. It had just opened up. The gas station across the street was a commercial major distributor. I believe it was Gulf at the time. Gulf Oil was on that corner. And this was a bank site, all right? Now, there's the history part and the fun part. In that shopping center was a video store. The video store was a standard video store with one exception. They had a unique marketing campaign. They had topless clerks. They had very attractive topless clerks. Who? See, I knew I'd get somebody's attention with that comment. And we at the county
Obligated
I
to
was at
go
the county-
investigate for your client,
See?
right? Yes.
I am.
Absolutely.
And you'll understand why there's going to be a connection here. All right? They're very, very attractive topless
Different guys.
topless clerks there. And the county didn't know anything about it at the time until they decided to do some marketing. And what they did was they went out on the corner here in their work uniforms and started jumping up and down with signs pointing to their video store. As you might imagine, that slowed traffic down tremendously. Now, that's important for two points. First of all, we're not going to generate that much traffic. Secondly, it tells you, in truth of the matter, this intersection in particular has declined tremendously since 1992. And this is an opportunity to do redevelopment in this area. It is infill. We've got a couple vacant lots here, and we also have redevelopment opportunities. And so we think this is a great location for that. I want to show you the site plan. See, I told you it'd be kind of interesting. The site plan here is, this is Ellington Gillette along the eastern side. This is Highway 301 on the south side. And the shopping center is actually up in this corner over here. Earthbox has some buildings right there. Now, we have the almost 6,000 square foot racetrack market here. We have a canopy here. Along here, we have some landscaping which has been enhanced because of one of the special specific approvals that we are requesting to eliminate the foundation landscaping. We've moved it onto the area that is over here on the eastern side of the property. Our access is from US 301, and part of the reason we're buying the 20 feet is so that we can have a deceleration lane off of US 301 and also off of Ellington Gillette at an existing driveway that is currently there. Our FAR is 0.15. It is at 0.23 is allowed under your comprehensive plan, and we have over 20% open space, which is the 20% is what's required by your code. Again, this is a redevelopment project and an infill project as well, an opportunity to infuse some needed capital into this particular area of the county. As you know, I think Racetrack provides attractive, clean, and successful market buildings. They've got a number of very nice stores in this community, and this facility is very similar, although they seem to update the store design just a little bit every few years, but it's very similar to the last 3 racetracks that were approved in the county, and 2 of those were approved by this commission. We have 2 specific approvals. I can go through those, they're in your staff report, but Planning Commission recommended 6-0 to recommend approval with stipulations as recommended, and we are requesting approval as well. We believe this is consistent with your comprehensive plan and your land development code, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay, thank you. Does the board have any questions? I've got a couple of people on the board. Commissioner Whitmore?
Mark, I don't know if you heard in my briefing, if anybody communicated to you, this is still kind of rural, this area, and I was asking them if this was going to be something like the Whitfield racetrack, where we made it a little bit more rural looking. We made the lines red, the red lines thinner, and actually we got a letter from Whitfield, believe it or not, from their association thanking us and that they love it. So it was something that everybody was afraid of. So,
Yes, it was.
yeah, so, you know.
I know.
You got it denied twice before it got approved.
Spent 5 good years of my life working on
Yes,
it.
so have you considered doing something like this? I have no problems with racetrack at all. The only issue I have is, the standard box ones that they have, and what a good job you did in Whitfield.
Well, hopefully you think the other stores that we've done are attractive as well. And I think as you drive down the road, I think they are very nice looking facilities, and both inside and outside, and they take great pride in continuing to do that. We did look at that issue. I talked with our folks. When we originally looked at this, and they are very expensive, so that's one of the issues here. We looked at both, in designing the project, we looked at this particular location and what was around it. You have a Dollar General just down the street. You have a pawn shop just down the street. Almost all of the buildings, commercial buildings in that area have flat roofs. In Whitfield, we had a specific request from some of the neighbors to do that, a lot of the neighbors to do that. And that was one of the reasons we looked at doing that. This is, again, consistent with the other ones, and because of the cost, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to do this one.
Okay, Commissioner Smith?
Mr. Barnaby, on Ellington Gillette Road there,
Yes.
if you're coming east and making that right-hand turn, I believe, north,
Here?
yeah, I've had a lot of complaints about tractor-trailer, no, further right on the main road.
Oh, Main Road?
Yes, right there.
Oh, okay.
If you're making that right-hand turn,
Yes.
most tractor-trailers,
This way?
you're making
You're talking about heading
Heading
west,
west.
turning north?
Yeah.
yeah, I got it back.
Heading west.
Okay, I don't know which way it's
Turning
facing.
north. Okay.
What road is that in front of it then?
This is 301.
Okay,
This is Ellington Gillette.
correct.
Okay, so am I heading west or am I heading east?
You're heading west.
I'm heading west, so I'm coming down 301.
So that's not a road I'm looking at, what I'm saying. On your diagram, that's not a road.
Well,
That's design?
I don't know what you're looking at, Commissioner.
Okay, could you,
It's the bottom.
At the bottom is 301.
okay, the road is to the far, okay, the far right on my side. Okay.
All right, this is Ellington Gillette. They're about
Okay.
ready to make major improvements in Ellington Gillette.
That's my question.
I suspect staff is better, but I have seen plans with a whole bunch of lanes in that area, and I suspect Clark or somebody might be able to talk to you about
I had complaints about as you know, tractor trailers have to swing out.
it. Yes.
Because the shop and stop store that you showed there,
Yep.
you basically, if the car doesn't back up, you can't make that turn today.
It's a tight turn.
Tight turn.
It is.
So how we addressing that? Because most are going to come around the back of your property and park if it's a tractor trailer, if they're, want to get some food. I take it that you could be selling sandwiches and things like that.
Yes, yes.
So they will park behind your facility and make that turn and come behind your business, then coming through that light, come around.
It's possible, it's possible.
So since I had a lot of residents complain about that turn, and if a car is parked right there, they have to back up, or the tractor trailer can't make a turn. Are we addressing those issues?
I believe so. As I said, I believe they are widening, I know they are widening that entire section. The county is actually doing that, with a number of, an additional left turn lane, I believe an additional right turn lane. And I suspect they'll address the radius on that issue, because that road is fairly old, as we all know. I don't remember any major changes in my lifetime. And I don't know if staff can respond to that or not.
I had asked Clark them about this in my briefing, because that road is scheduled for widening. Have your design is prepared for the widening of that road as is, right now, if that was built?
No, our design, no. In fact, as you can see right now, from this aerial picture, the current road is right here. Your right-of-way goes all the way over to here.
Okay.
So it's gonna, and that was purchased some time ago, a couple years ago. So this has all been designed to have a widening of that entire intersection as you're heading south or north on Ellington Gillette.
So you prepared for it?
Yes.
Okay. How much of the property do, I mean, that's a big piece of property, so you go all the way back there, there's a piece of flower shop back there.
Part of Earthbox right now stores on, kind of display on this property, and that's
Okay.
back in this area up here. This is a very odd shaped parcel for this type of use, but it does work with a specific approval.
But you're not buying Earthbox?
No, Earthbox, the main Earthbox facility is just to the north
Correct.
of this driveway.
Correct. But you own all of this, what I'm looking at?
Yes,
You own all of that?
we will once this is approved, hopefully.
Okay, all righty. Okay, all right. And the design?
Yes,
I noticed, I can't tell what the design is there at all. You said you're not going to do it like Whitfield. Whitfield's, when Commissioner Whitmore asked you,
this is the facility, this is the current design
okay,
of the facility that we're proposing. It is similar to the facilities we have, for instance, at State Road 64 and Lena Road, State Road 70 and 30th, and State Road 70 in Caruso. And to some extent, similar to the facility we have at, on US 41 near 53rd.
so is the store frontage facing 301?
Yes, the storefront faces 301. And we designed that intentionally because there are some residential developments, not developments, but homes to our northeast, and we want to make sure that most of the activity on the site is on the south side of the property. Towards
Okay.
301.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I just had a couple questions. On the cross connection, do you have a cross-access easement with the adjacent shopping center?
We do not.
Interconnect?
We do not. There is not one that exists on their side, which is part of the reason we didn't put one on our
Could you
side.
put your site plan back up again?
Sure.
So on the very north end, it looks like it goes all the way to the property line, that connection. So, but there's nothing, you're planning for it, but there's no cross-connect. Is that what you're saying?
We're connecting to the shopping center
That's what I'm.
that's part of the shopping center thing. Yes, up at that end, there was a question at Planning Commission on this end.
Oh, no, I meant at the north. So
Oh,
there
yes, yes,
is a
yes, I'm sorry,
cross-access easement there. Okay, good.
For clarifying that.
This is a kind of an out there question for, for the people at Racetrack. I heard on public radio that Tesla is now valued higher than Ford.
Yes.
Very interesting statistic to me.
Yes, it is.
When we see all of these gas stations, I wonder, do you ever put any electric charging stations or even anticipate putting electric charging stations in your gas stations?
Hi, I'm Sarah McGowan with Racetrack. It's a question we get asked a lot.
Okay.
We're actually looking, so it's a good question. We're looking into it. Right now, we don't have the demand, but part of being a convenience store, we're going to change with whatever our patrons will need. So say gas is phased out in a few years, and then we'll just do whatever, like the electronic station.
Okay, so you think about it when you're in design that you possibly could accommodate something like that?
Not right now, but we will in the future, when more people will be driving Teslas and electronic cars.
I'm a good GM girl, being from Michigan. I hope they're driving GM electric cars, but that's just me.
Madam Chair, has she been sworn?
Yes, I did say it.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, I have no more questions for the applicant, so I'm gonna go to the staff presentation.
The applicant, Rosina Leider again, and I have been sworn. The applicant covered the most important aspects of the application. The use is allowed with the current zoning district, NCM, but the applicant is requesting a specific approval for the foundation landscaping and to waive part of the requirement for setbacks that is in the land development code related to gas station. Staff agree with the proposal since this is a commercial site that is already developed and we don't have any particular issue with the reduction of the setbacks, and also with the reduction of the setbacks for the fuel tanks, since there is not any other regulation, state or federal, that impose this kind of setbacks. The applicant cover all the aspects that we request, and we think that is appropriated for that location. If you have any other particular question, I can answer.
Okay. Commissioner Smith?
The structure of the lights, what kind of light structure would they have there?
At this point, with preliminary site plan, we don't do any stipulation related to lighting, because the Land Development Code has a particular regulation for lighting, and is regulated the type of lights and the height according to the surrounding uses.
And I take it this will be open 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
Excuse me, would you please
This will
repeat?
be open 7 days a week, 24 hours a
This
day?
is a question for racetrack. I suppose that yes.
Okay. The sidewalks, is sidewalks going to go down Ellington Gillette Road?
Yes, they have sidewalks along Ellington Gillette, and then they have sidewalk along US 301.
Okay, all right.
Okay, I have a question for, and I thought Commissioner Smith was going to ask it, about the road improvements.
I was going.
I'll go ahead and ask Clark at this time. Do you want to talk about what's planned at the intersection? And I know that we had a right-of-way swap, but I see on the site plan that even though, I may get it confused, it did say on the site plan that that right-of-way where the turn lane is, if DOT comes in to or wants to do some expansion, it can be dedicated. I think that was a note on the site plan that I read, but if you could just address that, that would be helpful.
Good morning. For the record, Clark Davis, Transportation Planning Division Manager, and I have been sworn. There were a couple of different questions that revolve around the planned improvements for Ellington Gillette at US 301, so I'll try and cover several of those at one time. Since the time of our briefings, engineering staff has looked up some information for me on the design of the intersection. This is one of the sheets from that plan. North is up on this sheet. This site that you're looking at, this is the racetrack site in the northwest corner of the intersection. This is the tight turn that Commissioner Smith was asking about a few minutes ago. And hopefully your monitors are bright enough to see it, but you can see the turn lane markings here. All of this gray is portions of Ellington Gillette Road going southbound into the intersection that's being reconstructed, widened, and striped there. So going westbound on US 301, so you're headed in towards Palmetto, and turning right to go north on Ellington Gillette, this corner is very tight today, almost square. It's like a 5-foot radius there. This will expand it to 45 feet. The receiving lane, the northbound, will be a little bit wider, and there'll be this 4-foot wide painted strip. So there'll effectively be 15 feet of pavement there. So the encroachment area issues that we have today should be greatly minimized by that design. It's kind of hard to follow here, but as you go north, this painted median continues, and then you can see it shift a little bit. It's off the page here. You can see it shift a little bit to the west. This is where the left turn lane is being developed to go into that shared entrance along the north side. That's very similar to what's out there today. There's a little bit more pavement out there, and there's a painted strip instead of just a center line. With respect to what's happening on the frontage on 301, this particular sheet doesn't show it, but there had been some property acquired by the county, thinking that the US 301 at Ellington Gillette intersection improvements would be bigger than they've turned out to be. You can see here that they talked about making dual lefts here at one point. We ended up not doing that, just, extending the right turn lane. You can see a little bit of the gray area for where they're extending the pavement, extending the eastbound left turn lane there, as opposed to making it a dual left turn lane. And so we ended up not needing as much right-of-way there, but we had acquired some frontage along US 301. I believe the way that's worked out is the county has retained some of that would be dedicated or otherwise transferred to the state at some point for future state improvements to the road, but the applicant has reacquired some of the property for the purpose of developing a right turn lane into their site, a site-related improvement for their project. If there's any of that I've got quite right, their engineer is here and can address that part of it, but I think that covers the questions that have been asked so far.
Commissioner Smith?
Clark, do we know the build out on Ellington Gillette Road over the future is going to be 4 lanes or eventually, or what would that be?
Ellington Gillette is in Bud Road, and the extension of it north of Moccasin Wallow is a 4-lane road on the future thoroughfare plan. So eventually it would be built out to 4 lanes. South of here, Leffingwell is also on the thoroughfare plan, but as a 2-lane collector roadway.
What you just showed us, when would that take place?
It's just a future plan right now. The things that you'll see are the capacity improvement at this intersection with its reconstruction and a project that we call a functional improvement that'll provide a wider travel way, a better 2-lane road, essentially, with paved shoulders, some sidewalks along the road and things like that. But the capacity improvement is a future improvement. You will see more intersection improvements along Ellington Gillette Road before.
What about the turn lane to the west on south side of the road, right there?
So you're talking about maybe a turn lane going from here to go north?
Over there by Levingwell.
The left turn lane?
Right.
This left turn
No.
lane's, sorry.
I don't want to mess my screen up.
May I just say,
I know this is killing Priscilla because
No.
she knows it so well.
the Leffingwell, which is south of Ellington Gillette, the left-hand turn lane, I think is what he's referring
Yeah,
to.
that's, let me get my, yeah, that's exactly, when you and I was talking about the turn there, Levingwell, I don't know the name of it, I mean, right there. And so when they build this project, not, any of this will be done, correct?
This is a county capital improvement. It has been designed and permitted. We are in the process of doing acquisition now. We've got, I can't remember, but some 2, 3, 4 property owners we're working with to acquire the last parcels needed to implement the improvement. When that's done, we'll be able to basically bid the project and do selection, but we're not quite there yet.
So when the applicant build, if we approve this today, we won't have to take any property from them. They'll be as-is when they build, and we'll be able to move forward to what we need to do.
Well, prior to the applicant coming forward with this project, we had acquired property for the intersection improvement from the bank site, not knowing when they might develop it, and coincidentally, they came in behind and went forward with their development plan. So we had already acquired right-of-way needed for the intersection improvement from the property owner. The areas where we need additional land are in the other 3 corners of the intersection. So the racetrack development is, for lack of a better word, not an impediment to the acquisition process. In fact, we had acquired a little bit too much, which is why we're having the exchange back along the 301 portion of the project.
But the racetrack development is not putting in any lanes, turn lanes, anything like that.
They're putting in the stuff needed to serve their site, so they're making improvements along that shared access along the north side, the right turn lane on 301 into the site, and others. They are not making off-site capacity improvements for the project.
Okay, all righty. I don't know if you answered the question, but.
Well, perhaps if you show the site plan and point to the improvements that Racetrack is making, it might answer his question a little bit better.
All right, so this is the same location. We're panned a little bit to the northwest, so now that we're now focused on the site. So when I was talking about the westbound right turn radius that's being reworked for the westbound to northbound, that's this curve right here. This is Ellington Gillette going north. This is the west leg of the 301 at Ellington Gillette intersection. All the stuff shown in gray is basically the paving that they're doing on site. So they're doing work to build this right turn lane. They're doing a little bit of work up here. There's a separator there that will be removed so that they can make more of the turns there with the larger vehicles, and then there's all their paving on site. So as you can see, it's primarily on-site and site-related improvements for their project. The other stuff you saw, the gray on the other map,
Right.
is the stuff that the county's doing as part of its capital improvement project.
What about the south side over there? You know, that church is pretty close to that road. When we talk about putting the lanes in, what effect would it have on the south side of 301, where the church is on that corner, which is a close knit?
This map shows in gray all of the parts that the county's constructing as part of its capital project. This is the same map I had up a moment ago. You can see that they're reshaping this curb here and making an improvement there, but there's no additional northbound lanes. It's still going to be a single northbound lane as part of this improvement. And then there's some rework of this separator, extension of the turn lane, and then extensive work on the north leg of the intersection.
Okay, if we approve this here, when will this be built? This development?
The racetrack?
Correct.
Whatever pace they decide to move forward, they seem to move quickly once they get through this process, though.
You can ask the applicant.
Yeah, I will ask Mr. Barnaby if,
You could respond to that, team, Mr. Barnaby, the question.
and Mr.
Guys,
Clark.
when, there was a question from Commissioner Smith about when it might be built. I think that'd be better answered by you than staff, if you would like to come forward and.
Because, Clark, my concern, we still have that turn issue that will not be addressed. Is that correct? Coming from west to north, if you make that turn.
Right, there's some uncertainty with the county's project, not about whether it will happen, but when, because we're going through acquisition, and if we're successfully negotiate the acquisition of the property, it'll happen sooner than, say, if we have to go through condemnation for some of the parcels. But it's one of those things that I think that our project management team would like to get underway as soon as possible this calendar year. So it's possible that for some interim condition, depending on how quickly racetrack comes forward, that all of those intersection improvements will not be in place.
And the reason I'm asking that question, because if you're coming from west and turning north, most tractor trailers gonna come behind the building and park because you got extra parking place out there. You got a vacant lot with extra parking. And then they will, in my opinion, it's gonna turn into more tractor trailers coming on that road. They're turning behind racetrack, park, go in there, buy whatever they need to buy, and then go back outside. And it's gonna bring more tractor trailers in that area than before. You know, I feel good about the project, but I'm just trying to tie in when the road gonna be done, plus that turn there. Because the road's gonna remain narrow. You still got them cars constantly coming that route.
There's certainly that possibility.
And that's the route mostly every residence use to come to that, to make a right, to head into the city of Palmetto.
Correct.
Okay. All righty, thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
At this time, I don't have any more questions, so I'm going to go to public comment. Is there anyone who would like to address the board on this application? Please come forward, state your name for the record, and whether or not you've been sworn.
Catherine Edwards, and I have been sworn. I'd like to commend Commissioner Benak for the question on electronic charging stations, especially with respect to Tesla's market value. I also had another question regarding the deceleration lanes that are both on the Ellerton, Gillette, and Highway 301 roads. I was wondering if these lanes were being there installed to accommodate a new marketing campaign to include topless clerks. Thank you very much.
I hope so. Anyone else who'd like to address the board on this application? All right, seeing no one come forward, I'm going to go ahead and close public comment. Any other questions that the board has to the applicant, staff, or
I
citizens?
had a question for Mr. Barnaby.
Okay, push your button, please. Commissioner Smith?
Mr. Barnaby, if this is approved, when will this be developed and built?
Well, I'm going to address that question. Let me address that question first, if that's okay. If it's all right, I'll go into my comments. The plan right now is we've got to go through permitting both with the county and with the state FDOT regarding the deceleration lane. That plan, right now, if everything goes on target, would be August 2018, and certainly we hope to be done by the end of 2018, have it open by that date.
And would it be some adjustments to that light right there in that corner?
I think as part, well, I don't know if there's going to be an adjustment to the light, because obviously we've got to go through final site plan approval at this level. We haven't really looked at the finals on that, but it depends on where the county is in their process as well with their expansion.
Okay. And we did do the proper notification to the residents?
Oh, of course.
Okay, all right.
In fact, I drove by the site this morning at 5:30, and the signs were both up.
Okay.
That's some tough land there to put a sign in, I know. Commissioner DeSabatino.
Just wanted to thank you. I know you've spent a lot of years trying to get the one down at Pearl and 41, but it looks great, and people use it, and that one, and all the other ones throughout the county really look great. So I thank you for stepping up your game. You have a lot of stonework, and you try to make it look really nice, and they're always clean, and so, good job.
Thank you very much. I did, and yes, we did, it did take a while to work through those issues at Pearl. I have gotten comments as well on the Pearl site, which is great, given some of the concerns that were there. And I do think it's a great store as well. On the lights, this county has some of the most restrictive lighting requirements in the state. It requires lights to be focused downward, and they can't bleed off-site, so I don't think that'll be an issue at all. The sidewalk does go around both on US 301 and then up on Ellington Gillette. In regard to, I think, Commissioner Banak's question on dedication, we are required to dedicate I would say most of that property, about 17 feet or so, to FDOT, and so that takes care of most of that. And no, there will be no topless clerks at this.
I think,
Might up your sales.
I think Mr. Barnaby's very familiar with the rules in the county.
I am, and there are lots of really great, and that is only the start of a lot of really great stories that go along with that, including a call to my house from Jerry Springer on Saturday morning to appear on his show.
He was very involved when he was
Which I
at the
turned down,
county in writing and preparing the adult entertainment ordinance, and
Public
it was
meeting.
always fun to watch him blush when all the terms had to be discussed.
I have made that comment in some of the speeches I give, and one of the comments I go is, it is very difficult, and I was a very shy person growing up, but it is very difficult now to embarrass me too much, because after you've read some of those terms on television in a public forum,
I remember that.
it's easy to say, it's not that hard
No.
to do other things.
Commissioner Smith.
Madam Chair, I think it's a great project. It's in District 2. And I know when I was a city commissioner, I had talked to Mr. Barnaby quite a few times about issues, racetrack, when I found out he represented racetrack from that standpoint. And I do believe in District 2, this is the first one in the unincorporated area.
That is correct.
That's taking place. So I think it's that area, it will do a lot for that area right there, and I think it will alleviate some of the issues that we have on that corner. And Madam Chair, I want to make the recommended motion for approval.
Second. Okay, we have the recommended motion by Commissioner Smith. I heard Commissioner Whitmore first. I'm going to ask if there's any other comments by staff we hadn't completed. Staff have any closing comments?
No, at this time.
Any further rebuttal from the applicant? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay. That completes our regular agenda. Are there any commissioner comments that anyone would like to share today? We didn't get much time Tuesday. Anything who wants to share at this time?
Madam Chair, are you starting with me, or?
Yes,
Oh,
sure.
okay. I just want to be sure I was recognized.
But I did kind of open it up. You are recognized. Thank you for that.
And so we'll be done. I would like Commissioner Sabatino to step out the room for a minute, because I'm going to discuss that issue let me finish. You know what I'm going to say yet.
Right before you do, because
Okay.
I didn't realize that Commissioner Whitmore had pushed her button. It may have been on did you push your button on the last application? Oh,
It's
okay.
for, you asked if anybody had comments, and I
Okay.
pushed
Well,
my button.
then I went to Commissioner Smith, so, okay.
So you want me to leave? Okay.
The motion that was made, which I supported by Commissioner Johnson, I was not aware that a settlement offer had came in and they was negotiating, and the county had made a recommendation of 16, and it was a counter offer of 51, and Commissioner Johnson's motion was 30, and I did see the additional information that came through. Certainly, we're close. In my opinion, I think we should meet halfway with that 51 to settle this, because there's going to be additional suits filed. I also noticed that the judge has not dismissed these cases yet. I'm concerned about continual legal bills taking place, and I think it only takes about $10,000 to settle this issue for it to go away. I just wanted to put that on the floor. I was not aware it was a negotiation. We so close with the motion that Commissioner Johnson to continue to litigate and put thousands of dollars makes no sense to me whatsoever. And we have not received the final bill from the attorney that's representing us now. And I believe the county attorney mentioned when Commissioner Trace asked and said, well, it's beyond the 30,000 that you just voted from that standpoint. I just want to put that out on there, because in his email, he said it can be brought up to any county commission meeting. So I just want to put that for dialogue with my colleagues so this process can stop. Also, I had Marion to send the county commissioners an email that I had dealing with this case. I actually forwarded to the Board of County Commissioners some time ago that I had trouble with. As you know, I didn't support this moving forward. But in that documentation.
Clarify this, you're talking about, when you say this, you're still talking about Robin's thing? Okay,
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. I want to make
Yeah.
sure.
As you know, with this issue, I had Marion to forward an email to all of you, and we very seldom look at them close. We come back and look at them another 2 or 3 days. Dealing with an email that I had received referring to engagement of the county attorney's office, the deputy, not Mr. Palmer, telling the other side that we represent Commissioner Segui Sabatino and not to contact her anymore because we'll be representing her. I have trouble with that email, and I'm hoping my colleagues can see us moving, add another 10 to settle this issue since she was asking for 51. And as you know, we received that after we took action. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Whitmore.
I was going to bring up, I wanted to bring up the other day, but it was just too late. It's not about this.
Can we stay on this subject? I'll come back
Okay,
to
well,
that, promise.
I had my button, so you
You
recognized
did, but
me.
I'm trying to
That's-
stay
I wasn't
on
going
the
to talk about
subject.
this.
Thank you. Commissioner Baugh, I wanted to dialogue.
Yeah, I want a dialogue on that. I'm glad you brought that up, actually, because it seems to me, and I was going to talk to Mickey Palmer today, but I haven't had a chance yet. But it seems to me that when this all started, there was a memorandum that came out, basically, and it stated from the attorney's office that attorney's fees were not, oh, here he comes. He might be able to answer it. Mickey, I
been in
probably
transit,
need to
so
ask you
bring
this
me up to date,
question.
please.
Yeah, I was going to, I just hadn't
Thank
had an
you.
opportunity today. Wasn't there a memorandum that came from your office, however, when this all first started, that attorney's fees were not permissible to be reimbursed? And I'll tell you why I'm asking, in all fairness. I want to make sure we're not doing anything wrong here. But that being said, Commissioner Smith brought up about your email yesterday where you had made an offer to settle. And as you know, I mean, I found out about this on Monday when we were in my briefing, but I thought all the commissioners knew about it. So I guess my question is, Mickey, what has changed that now we can try to, and help me here, because I want to make sure that we're above board.
Happy to walk you through it. I'm happy to walk you through it. First of all, I owe a sincere apology to Commissioner Smith for failing to mention the offer that was made by the commissioner this past weekend. That was an oversight on my part. I hope you will accept what I'm saying to you as the absolute truth.
Accept it, yeah.
I did not intend to exclude you from that conversation. It occurred to me, I think, halfway through Tuesday's meeting, I don't think I mentioned that item to Commissioner Smith in your Monday briefing. So I hope you'll accept that apology, Commissioner. But to Commissioner Ball, that is a very insightful question. So let me walk you through it. Yes, my office issued a lengthy opinion memorandum when Commissioner DeSabatino initially requested reimbursement of her attorney's fees. And she and her lawyer labeled her as the prevailing party, quote unquote, which is a technical legal term. She labeled herself as the prevailing party at the conclusion of that litigation and therefore asked for reimbursement of her fees from the county. My office respectfully disagreed, and we said that she was not the prevailing party, that indeed she was the non-prevailing party. And we wrote a lengthy opinion memo on that subject and opined that she was not entitled to reimbursement of her legal fees. The discussions that are going on right now are cost avoidance discussions. You have the ability to settle a lawsuit strictly to avoid the future costs of litigation. So we need to make it very clear that whatever settlement this board might approve has nothing to do with the reimbursement of her attorney's fees. It is simply a business decision to avoid additional costs associated with litigating.
Okay.
Because in point of fact, it is my professional opinion that reimbursing those fees would be an unlawful expenditure.
Okay.
So, on the other hand, you do have every right to settle a litigation matter based on cost avoidance considerations. Does that help?
And that's what I wanted us to kind of, I thought that's probably what you were going to say, but I wanted to make sure we got it on record because I wasn't sure how this was looking or proceeding in that regard, so.
Yes.
Thank you.
And so that's the reason why, that is a reason why, but this is also very standard practice. The settlement documentation that we have now presented to Commissioner DeSabatino's lawyer, it went out by email yesterday per my promise to the board. The settlement documentation is crystal clear that the county denies liability. We are simply offering to settle this case in order to buy peace, if you will. That phrase is actually in there. It's a common phrase that you will see in settlement documentation. And again, as I indicated to the board on Tuesday, it is 100% of the time when a defendant determines to settle a lawsuit, for whatever reasons may be motivating them, the defendant will specifically state, I deny liability. And that is an important component of standard settlement litigation, or settlement documentation.
Thank you, that answers my question.
Yeah, and I took the motion in support of the motion from Commissioner Johnson as just that, to try to get rid of this issue, that it's been very divisive for this board, and so that's why I supported it. But the timing has been really weird.
The timing is odd. In fact, I will tell you that my chief litigator, Chris DiCarlo, and I spent a ton of time yesterday afternoon adjusting the language of the settlement paperwork to account for the facts, the circumstances that we are now in by virtue of Judge Eiten's ruling on Monday.
And that was going to be my question, because that email came out later, and, you know, people ask us why we do things. I mean, my husband asked me, why did you do that? And when he said that your attorney opined that you didn't need to, and I said, it is clear that it's causing so many problems here, and I think that if we can clear this issue, you know, and it's costing us money, but then the decision comes out from the judge, and I really didn't understand. Mickey, can you explain a little bit
Certainly.
What your memo said?
The timing, the timing is a bit odd, and we had no control over that. This past Friday, there was a hearing in the matter. Friday afternoon, there was a hearing in the matter. It had been scheduled 2 months prior, so it was been on the books for some time. Judge Iten is the newly assigned judge as of January. So Friday's hearing was the county's motion to dismiss the second amended complaint that had been filed by Attorney Brooks and to sever the fee reimbursement claim from the public records claim. Judge Iten saw it the county's way on both scores. Judge Iten took the matter under advisement over the weekend. He did not issue a ruling from the bench on Friday. We kind of felt like the judge was seeing it our way based on some of the questions he asked, but we didn't know. He said, I'm going to chew on this a little bit more. You'll get my ruling next week. Frankly, I was surprised when the ruling came out as early as Monday. But his order did come out on Monday, in which he saw it the county's way on both fronts, and he essentially said, first of all, you're going to have to file yet what will now be called a third amended complaint, okay, with regard to the public records claim. A third amended complaint with regard to the public records claim. And why is that? Because you filed your second amended complaint without getting the court's permission to do so. It's a procedural rule that was violated by plaintiff's counsel. Okay? So the judge then went a step further and said, I also see it the county's way with regard to severing the public records count from the fee reimbursement count. And so he instructed the plaintiff's counsel that if you desire to continue to pursue the fee reimbursement claim, you will be required to file a separate, standalone lawsuit. There are procedural reasons why we brought this motion that I am disinclined to publicly discuss. I am happy to individually discuss it with commissioners.
Okay. And the reason I asked for this, is because presumably, this board voted on Tuesday, presumably yesterday, you prepared and extended this settlement offer
Correct.
of the $30,000. There's nothing we can do about that at this point, but I certainly, and I'm going to make myself very clear, have no intention of increasing any amount at this point. I think that it actually was more than I wanted to go over, because I think that it's very clear in my mind that we, the county taxpayers, should not have to bear this cost, but we have been bearing the cost. I approved it to stop it, but I have no intention of increasing that amount. I will not vote for that. I'm going to be very clear about that. Commissioner Trace.
Yes, I was just going to sort of say the same thing. I totally agree with Commissioner Smith. We should compromise, meet halfway. To me, the 30,000 is halfway. That's between the 16 and the 51. I move that we stay with the 30 and wait and see what comes back, and then deal with it if the 30 is not accepted.
Well, I don't,
The 30,000.
actually making a motion?
I am making a motion that we move on, we stay with the 30, that we not increase it, that we stay with what we've decided on Tuesday and move on. Yes, I do make that motion.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
All right, we have a motion.
Question.
Discussion. Commissioner Smith.
My concern is that the judge in his order gave 30 days to file these complaints. It was a technicality that took place that most attorneys use that costs us thousands of dollars. You keep it going. Ms. Sabatino, attorney, all he has to do is file amended complaints and the suit is back in. Now he's saying you got to file additional suit, which is going to cost us additional money, which is attorney. We're sitting at 50, maybe more, I'm guessing. 6-7 weeks from now, we'll be at $100,000. I was not aware, as he mentioned, a settlement offer. If I knew it was 51, and I really appreciate what Commissioner Johnson did. He's a businessman. I'm a businessman too. I don't think this is going to stop, and we're going to be sitting right back here, $100,000. And I'm telling you, this is me. I'm not an attorney at all. In the end of the day, and I said it then, I don't believe we're going to prevail because the county attorney was representing DeSabatino and the county commission, and I thought she needed her own attorney before they settled the county. I'm concerned about that. I don't believe Commissioner DeSabatino may accept the 30. I think $40,000, we end this thing, and if you don't accept that, I'm with you. But to continue over $10,000 difference, when a recommendation from the county attorney was 16, so it's a negotiation going on. These were technicalities that attorneys use to dismiss complaints, and then they file it again. Now this attorney is going to be working on another complaint, which is additional funds. So my question to Mr. Palmer, do we have a number where this stops? We're at 50, I believe, and the final bill is not in at today. And to add 10, in my opinion, may end this billing cycle that we have. The judge basically say you file a third amendment complaint, and that can be filed, and now that's more additional money to the attorney. I mean, I'm a businessman. You cut your loss and you move forward, and I agree with you. It wasn't a reimbursed attorney fee. It was a business decision. I certainly hate the fact that if we lose 1 ounce in the court, that this thing is more fire to continue. I'm also concerned about the conversation with emails that took place that can start another suit with retaliation, civil rights issues, and thus for that she was being monitored not to get, by staff, not to get documentation of her capacity as a commissioner that she duly had a right to receive. I can look at that being a allegation too. So I understand my colleagues want to stick to 30, but at the end of the day, this is government money, taxpayers' money. If it was my personal money, I stopped the bleeding today, to be honest with you. We got unlimited money, and we can continue to go forward and spend $100,000 to $200,000. But remember this here, and I said before the 2 new commissioners got on here, in the end of the day, what I said before I opposed this is going to come to pass, that some documents that I seen is going to jeopardize us in this case. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Baugh?
Yeah, first of all, I think we should have a shade meeting on this. I don't think it should be something that we're sitting here publicly discussing. It is about a fellow commissioner. I find it very uncomfortable and very unprofessional. So I really feel like, Mr. Palmer, that it needs to be a shade meeting. However, my colleague, Commissioner Smith, I do agree with his points. I can see where, obviously, I sit in this meeting on Tuesday, and I heard everything that was said about public information request. I know that's an issue. I got it. I get it. I've tried. I know what's been going on there. And the other thing that, I think is that not only, are we spending taxpayer money, but, it's also putting a black eye on this board, because the question has to be there of all the commissioners on this board. Did any of the commissioners have any involvement in this situation? I don't know.
It's coming.
I don't know, but I think that it's sad that it's being public, and we need to stop this. So, Mickey, my question is, as far as reading the rules and procedures, it seems to me that a shade meeting could be done. I think we probably should have mentioned that the other day, to get it out of the public eye so much, and because I find it embarrassing for this board, and also the individual, for Robin. I think it's distasteful. So, that being said, I would like to discuss this in a shade meeting. I will hold my opinion on adding money to this after I hear from other commissioners. But we need to get rid of this. We need to be able to move forward. This board does hopefully join together as one in a sense. And Mickey, I'd like to have an appointment with you, because you caught me so off guard on Tuesday or Monday when you told me that you had made an offer. I'd like to get more into that with you, to find out why. And I'm assuming, I think I know, but just
Well, I'm
to have
happy.
the
I'm happy to
conversation.
explain. First of all, let me say this subject does in fact qualify for a shade meeting.
Yep.
If that's something you want to do, that's something we rarely do. We tend to try to avoid them, frankly. just for public perception reasons, if nothing else. But this absolutely qualifies for a shade meeting if that's the desire of the board. The $16,000 offer was made pursuant to my authority by way of the self-insurance ordinance to settle any litigation matter for up to $30,000. And I did it, frankly, to spare this board and this community from further. Had the plaintiff accepted my $16,000 offer, we would have been done. None of the public conversations that have played out in recent days would have occurred. It was my effort to try to put this away for you all. It was an unsuccessful effort. It was met by a counter demand of $51,000.
Right. And I appreciate you trying to make that offer. I think it is a step in the right direction.
I felt comfortable that the board would support me in doing that. Again, it's authority that I have under the self-insurance ordinance anyway, but anyway, that was my thinking.
Commissioner Johnson.
I agree with Vanessa on the idea of a shade meeting, because it is awkward with, Robin standing here and so
Terrible.
forth. And I do respect, Commissioner Smith's comments, and I think we're all on the same page there. However, I feel like we've made the offer's gone out. I don't like to negotiate against myself.
No, exactly, and that's what it is.
And so I'd rather wait to hear what the response is, and then we'll sit there and take it up and make a decision at that point. And if we can do it in the shade, then I think that's much better and less embarrassing, and for all of us as well as for the general public.
And just bear in mind, under the shade meeting portion of the statute, okay, you must have a certified court reporter present for the entire proceeding, recording every word that is said, and then once the litigation is ultimately concluded, that transcript of your entire discussions is released to the public. So just bear in mind that particular requirement of the shade meeting statute.
Commissioner Trace.
Commissioner Smith, I think technically we're at $80,000. We still will owe $50,000 in our outside counsel, plus the $30,000 we will be giving as a settlement. So technically, we're not at 30 or 40,000, we're at 80,000, give or take a few thousand. Is that correct?
Well, the $50,000 has already been paid.
Exactly, but I mean,
but if you're looking at the,
I'm looking at the big picture. The taxpayers, as of right now, have 50,000 in it, and would be an additional 30 plus something else. So we're not talking 30 to go to 40. We would be talking 80 going to 90.
And again, as with any matter of litigation, any lawsuit that is filed against county government, my office aggressively defends. If we have good factual and legal defenses, we will pursue them. This case is no different. And is it unfortunate? Is it sad? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Commissioner Smith.
Madam Chair, we may very well be at that number without the 30. I've worked in a law firm. You haven't received the final bill from the law firm. It's going to be more than that. My point is, and I commend the county attorney for offering the $16,000, and now it's totally out of his privy to settle, because the $30,000, he can't go beyond that.
That's correct.
So he has protected his office, and now it's up to this board to stop it, or it won't be stopped.
Commissioner Whitmore.
And I'm glad Vanessa brought up the shade meeting. I've been involved in many shade meetings in the cities, and I know, Charles, I think you probably have too. And the whole purpose of a shade meeting is to strategize. And I don't think we've been able to do that. So I'm glad we're doing it. And I think this is very appropriate, Mickey, that we do this sooner than later.
Just as a reminder, the 7 business day deadline for the plaintiff's acceptance or rejection of the $30,000 offer is close of business next Friday.
So I'm up next. I'm going to ask Commissioner Trace if she would consider withdrawing her motion. Because we have an offer of $30,000 on the table, we don't even know if it's accepted. I don't think we need a motion to do it again. We've done it. We're in the process.
I have no problem keeping it procedurally. I was just trying to say, we've made an offer, let's keep what we have and let's move on.
Okay. All right, so she withdraws her motion, is that what I'm hearing?
I have no problem withdrawing it. That makes things move easier.
Okay, the seconder agree. I can't remember who the seconder was. Okay, so what I'm hearing is that we've got an offer out there, but as I said, there's so much going on. I mean, again, we have to represent the people of Manatee County in this issue. I get very concerned when I hear all these additional possibility things that could change. And we know we have a big issue with whether or not the county commission pays for public records, whether, we're gonna have a workshop on that. We're gonna decide that, and that's gotta be separate from this lawsuit. It's got to be. We cannot add that in afterwards. Can anyone sue on anything? Yes. But I believe that it is highly unusual for a county commissioner to sue the county that they are representing. There are all kinds of things that are involved in that, and we're trying to make, from my personal perspective, we're trying to make that go away. But I'll be darned if I'm gonna start having all these theories of what might happen next, what the next lawsuit might be. We gotta deal with the one we have before us. I'm in support of the shade meeting, but I'm not gonna jump to the next possible lawsuit that might be out there and who might have been involved in what. I personally would like these things to be public, because I think once you go shade, then people do start having conspiracy theories. But I certainly understand why. I support your recommendation for a shade meeting. I will support that. This is a tough issue. And we've got a lot of legal things going on. You know, when the judge sides with us on some things, I get encouraged. I may be misreading that, but I see the judge is siding with us. Maybe the judge will throw this whole thing out and then it ends. That's a possibility. That is a possibility. So I'm not willing to say I'm going to spend more of the taxpayers' money at this point. And that was a question that I got. Why'd you do that? And I said, well, I didn't know the judge was going to make these decisions before he made this offer. That's why I'm calling it kind of bad timing.
And if I may, did I interrupt you, Commissioner?
Nah, I'm done, I guess.
If I may, Judge Eiten's ruling, while it was issued on Monday, did not come to my attention until roughly midday on Tuesday, when we were in the midst of an otherwise very difficult county commission meeting. I had zero opportunity to review and digest that multi-page order when it came through midday on Tuesday. And so, yes, the timing was just not good, and I was simply not in a position to intelligently discuss that with my client on Tuesday. It just wasn't. It was just horrible timing. I'm not blaming the judge. In fact, I applaud him for issuing a prompt ruling. But
I'd like to blame somebody, but Commissioner Baugh.
Yeah, you know, I think it's fair to say that this whole thing is, I agree with you, highly unusual. But then again, a lot of the things that have taken place here in this county have been highly unusual. So we're just going to have to deal with them. I would like to say that, Mickey, I hope my board will, I shouldn't say my board, the other commissioners would agree that, I think you said Friday of next week? You know, when we discuss this next, either it's done individually with the commissioners or in a shade meeting, but not on this dais again. I am tired of the embarrassment of this whole damn thing.
Me too.
It needs to stop. So if we could do that, I think that would be great. No matter how you cut it, both sides have been wrong. And it's just life, it's the way it is. There has been things that have been wrong on both sides of this issue. So the sooner we get it behind us, we can all move forward, work together, perhaps better than has been allowed for the almost 5 years I've been on this board. I'm looking forward to that myself. I think we should get it the way perhaps it should be, and I've not seen that. So we either all start working together or we'll stay split. And if we stay split, it's not advantageous to the citizens of this county. So that's it, and I'll be waiting to hear next Friday. Thank you.
Commissioner Smith?
I just want to say, Madam Chair, that the judge very well could have dismissed everything that Commissioner DiSabatino has done. The court is only say you got to separate these complaints. In fact, I gave you 30 days to deal with these issues. Technicality is what attorneys throughout the state use to continue to move forward to make sure the other offended all of a sudden bite. But we haven't won a victory yet. The fact that it's over a year and it hasn't been dismissed yet should trouble all of us with this fact. So I'm concerned about this continue to go forward. Mr. Palmer, rightly so, has protected his office. Now the only way this could be stopped now is through this board. And I agree with Commissioner Barr. We need to have that shade meeting from this point. And also, I will remind you that you'll find out sooner than later that you don't know what all your colleagues on this board has done. That name may eventually surface in these allegations, and you may find out that this just didn't pop up all of a sudden, and I just want you to be careful about what you're asking for. Thank you,
I
Madam
hope
Chair.
you're wrong on that one.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, well, we're going to stop. All right, anything else you need? Mr. Palmer, you got
I
direction?
think, unless you have any questions for me.
Okay.
So it is, again, it is, I think we probably need a vote to schedule a shade meeting.
Maybe, I guess she wants to make public comment, but we need a
The
motion.
the shade meeting would obviously be post next Friday. Obviously, we couldn't accomplish it that quickly anyway. But yeah, if it's your desire to go the shade meeting route, I would respectfully ask for a vote on that.
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion that any further discussion regarding this case be done in a shade meeting.
I will second that motion, Madam Chair.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those, public comment, I guess Robin wants to make public comment, is that, I mean, it seems kind of weird, but okay.
Whole thing is weird.
The whole thing is absolutely ridiculous. It pains me to stand here once again defending myself when this could have all been avoided last year because two of you weren't on, so you don't know all the ins and outs, and then the others that were on don't know all the ins and outs, but you're getting piecemeal. And as Commissioner Smith said earlier, you didn't know that there were emails out there saying that our office is representing her, send everything through me, and then I was thrown under the bus. It was denied, and I really don't want an argument here. We're not in the courtroom. I'm just giving you my perspective. My attorney and I had asked the prior board for an independent opinion that would have probably cost a couple $1,000s. Maybe both sides would have paid for an independent opinion. And I said I would have abided by the independent opinion. But I was denied that, and this board denied me. Commissioner Smith voted for it. No one else seconded the motion. No one else voted to have a second opinion. Don't look at me like that. You can watch the tape. No one seconded his motion. This could have all been avoided a year ago. The county probably has over 100,000 into it between Trenum Law and the county attorney's office lawyers. I have probably, as of today, 60 into it myself. I don't find that amusing. I don't find that I'm doing this for my pleasure. It's costing the county taxpayers money. That upsets me. But I, as a county commissioner, am also a citizen of the county who have been wronged, in my opinion, that there were emails withheld, that there were emails exchanged, an email indicating that in exchange our understanding that to remove the county from the original suit, the county is to retain a copy of her hard drive. And oh, by the way, Michael Barfield, a 68-time convicted felon, wants a copy of that hard drive, which was not the scope of the search, that I handed over immediately within 1 hour of him asking, because it was going to be protected, it was going to be sealed. And that email, that private, not email, that private hard drive, would you all surrender your private hard drive within 1 hour with the premise that it's protected by the county attorney that works for us. I still have the floor.
Well, they should never started.
I'm going to wrap it up, because these other commissioners don't know the facts. That information on that hard drive had private information, had my business information, it had business contacts, it had real estate contracts, real estate settlement contracts, family photos, everything not exactly spelled out in the Florida statute on sunshine. That's how they got away with it. That's how they got away with it. The Florida sunshine case law specifically says your social security number, your private financial, like tax returns, and maybe a court order for, like, I'm trying to recall from the sunshine law, but there's just very, very specific things that are protected. But how would you like all your business contacts shared with Michael Barfield? So what's to stop all you from asking for now a copy of my hard drive, because they deemed it public record after they signed affidavits that they would keep it under seal? And then all of a sudden, an email appears, oh, by the way, we destroyed it? And they were to keep it for the duration of the lawsuit that was pending? So you all need to think long and hard. I have been harmed by this gentleman, Eschenfelder, the attorney's office, and you all for listening to information that wasn't accurate.
Okay. We have a motion and a second
That's
on
all
the
I'm going
floor
to say, and I'm
have.
leaving the room.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to have a shade meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Chair votes aye. Motion passes. All right, Commissioner Whitmore, you had a comment you wanted to make?
Oh, God. After the other day it was bad, today it's bad. It's about WCIND. I'll bring it up at the next meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Because I was going to go to that luncheon. Anybody else?
Yeah,
Okay,
we're
great.
supposed to-
We are adjourned.